Parties, of course, meeting for the first time in court today. It was about a 90-minute hearing.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to have to wait and see. It's coming up soon.
Listen to me, Blake Lively. Tap out. Tap out. Call Uncle right now. Please take my advice. Please just tap out. Be done. Be done with this. Ref, please call Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds out. Just call this out.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour.
In Blake's first amended complaint, Blake changed what she alleges about what happened while filming the slow dance scene, now that the footage has been released for everyone to see. So what they're saying is, now that, Justin Baldoni shared the truth of what it looks like, they're no longer making the same claims. Previously, they said Miss Lively was filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Of course, Justin proved there was sound. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself.
And that's part of the point that Justin's team is making in kind of complying with what they're viewing as threats made on her behalf against Justin, is like, well, there's this financial consequence to everything in addition to the strike consequences too, right? So they filmed May to June, then shut down for the strike, and then they were down until January. But I think that the strike lifted in November, but then she had all these return to work provisions.
What does she have to fear if she's telling the truth? This isn't going to end well for you, Blake.
He and 9 other plaintiffs, including his publicists, have brought a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, essentially alleging them of libel and false light invasion of privacy. So Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, he told BBC's partner CBS that the newspaper aided and abetted a smear campaign designed to revitalise Lively's floundering image.
For months, Blake Lively has been battling Justin Baldoni in a bitter legal war, accusing him of harassment and misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us. But when the judge's ruling was announced, she completely broke down. Witnesses claim she collapsed in court, burst into tears before rushing out of the courtroom. How did her entire case just fall apart in an instant? Let's break down what really happened, because this courtroom drama is wilder than anyone imagined. Imagine this. You're sitting in a courtroom, heart pounding, waiting for a fair decision. You've spent months fighting, believing that justice will be on your side. But then, the judge delivers a ruling so unexpected, so devastating, that it feels like the ground has been ripped out from beneath you. The room starts spinning, voices blur together, and all you can do is sit there in disbelief. That, according to multiple eyewitnesses, is exactly what happened to Blake Lively. The actress, once confident in her legal battle, was visibly distressed as the verdict was read. Witnesses describe her shaking her head in disbelief, gripping the courtroom bench so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Some reports claim she looked on the verge of tears, completely overwhelmed by the moment. Others say she collapsed into her seat, staring blankly ahead as if struggling to process what she had just heard. And then, in the most dramatic moment of all, some sources claim she rushed out of the courtroom before the hearing had even ended, too stunned to stay and hear the final words. For months, Blake Lively had been locked in a brutal legal war against Justin Baldoni, a battle that had consumed her reputation, career, and personal life. But no one expected it to end like this. What could have possibly shaken her to the core? What decision was so devastating that it left one of Hollywood's biggest stars reeling? To fully understand everything, we need to rewind back to the bitter legal war that led to this moment. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were once co-stars working on the highly anticipated film It Ends With Us, a movie that was supposed to be a career-defining moment for both of them. But behind the scenes, it was a disaster. According to Blake Lively, the production quickly turned into a nightmare due to Baldoni's alleged behavior. Not only was he her co-star, but he also served as the film's director and producer, which meant he had immense control over how things operated on set. Lively accused him of harassment, fostering a toxic work environment, and even retaliating against her when she spoke up about her concerns. She claimed that he dismissed her complaints, belittled her, and made working conditions unbearable. Her legal team argued that this wasn't just her word against his. They insisted that multiple crew members had backed up her claims and that written evidence existed showing Baldoni acknowledging the complaints. But Justin Baldoni denied everything. He pushed back hard, calling Lively's allegations false and damaging. His team painted a very different picture, claiming that Lively was difficult to work with and that her accusations were part of a calculated attempt to tarnish his reputation. What started as an on-set dispute quickly escalated into a full-blown legal war, with both sides digging in their heels and refusing to back down.
Dear Judge Lyman, as counsel for Wayfair Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group PR LLC, and Jennifer Abel, collectively the Wayfarer parties, we write to advise the court of an issue that the Wayfarer parties wish to address at the upcoming conference on Monday, February 3rd, 2025.
And that's when things got truly ugly. Baldoni filed a massive countersuit, accusing Lively of trying to destroy his career with false allegations. He claimed that her lawsuit had led to investors pulling out of his projects, studios reconsidering their partnerships with him, and his reputation being permanently stained in Hollywood. His legal team argued that Lively wasn't just fighting for justice. She was waging a public smear campaign designed to take him down completely. For months, the case dragged on, dominating headlines and dividing public opinion. Fans, celebrities, and industry insiders all took sides, with some supporting Lively's claims and others questioning whether Baldoni was being unfairly targeted. The stakes continued to rise, and with a $400 million lawsuit hanging over them, the pressure was at an all-time high. But nobody expected what happened next. The judge sided with Baldoni. Just like that, the case was dismissed. But here's the crazy part. Nobody really knows why. The details of the ruling are still unclear, leaving Hollywood buzzing with speculation about what really went down behind closed doors. How did a lawsuit that had dragged on for months, a lawsuit that had seemingly shaken Baldoni's career and reputation, suddenly crumble in an instant? Some reports claim the judge ruled that Blake Lively's allegations weren't backed by enough solid evidence, implying that her case simply wasn't strong enough to hold up in court. If true, this would mean that despite months of legal battles, witness testimonies, and supposed written proof, Lively's team failed to convince the court that Baldoni had done anything legally wrong. Others whisper about something even more shocking, that Lively herself may have been questioned during the case, and the judge might have found inconsistencies in her statements, possibly calling her credibility into question. But the rumors don't stop there. There's growing speculation that this case wasn't just about workplace misconduct, that something much bigger was at play. Some sources believe the lawsuit involved hidden Hollywood power struggles, secret deals, and financial motives that were never fully revealed to the public. Was this a battle over money, a clash between two industry figures fighting for control, or was there something even darker lurking beneath the surface? And that's when, according to multiple eyewitnesses, Blake Lively lost it. People inside the courtroom describe her as visibly shaken, gripping the bench, shaking her head, and struggling to process what had just happened. Some say she was on the verge of tears, her face frozen in disbelief. Others claim she collapsed into her seat, staring ahead in complete shock, unable to comprehend that the case she had fought so hard for had just vanished before her eyes. Then, in the most dramatic moment of all, some sources claim she stormed out of the courtroom before the hearing even officially ended, too furious, too stunned, or maybe even too humiliated to stay and hear the final word.
And how's Justin feeling right now? What do you hope to accomplish this year?
You know what? He's feeling like you would feel. If you were wrongfully accused of something, you'd feel pretty devastated. And he's looking for justice. And he's a great man and an honest, really caring person. Thanks for your time.
This is where the story takes a wild turn. Sources inside the courtroom claim that as the verdict was being read, Blake Lively looked completely stunned, as if she had just heard the most unthinkable news of her life. The confident, composed actress who had walked into that courtroom expecting a fight suddenly seemed lost, shaken, and blindsided. Witnesses describe a woman struggling to process what was happening, her entire demeanor shifting in real time as the reality of the ruling sank in. Some say they saw her stagger slightly, clutching the table in front of her as if she needed something, anything to steady herself. Others claim she turned visibly pale, her expression frozen in shock as she lowered herself into a seat, her hands trembling. A few people who were sitting closer to her insist that her breathing became erratic, as though she was fighting back a panic attack in the middle of the courtroom. But the most dramatic version of events, she broke down in tears and left the courtroom. According to some reports, Blake Lively barely waited for the full verdict to be read before she grabbed her things and rushed out. Unable to handle the weight of what had just happened, some sources claim she muttered something under her breath as she stood up, though nobody seems to agree on exactly what she said. Security reportedly followed her as she exited the courtroom, making sure she got to her car safely. And in a moment that only added to the mystery, Lively refused to speak to reporters, keeping her head down as she left the building. Now, here's where things get even more bizarre. There's no official footage of this moment, no leaked videos, no courtroom cameras capturing the exact second she reacted, but that hasn't stopped the internet from going absolutely wild with speculation. Was this just a natural emotional reaction to an unexpected and devastating legal loss? Or did something happen behind the scenes that completely shattered her? After the dramatic scene in the courtroom, fans immediately took sides. Social media exploded with debates, theories, and heated arguments over what had just happened. People couldn't stop talking about Blake Lively's reaction, her apparent shock, her struggle to stay on her feet, and the way she reportedly rushed out of the room, visibly shaken. Was this the reaction of someone who had just faced a terrible injustice, or was there more to the story? Many of Lively's supporters were quick to defend her. They believed that if she truly collapsed in shock, it meant something deeply unfair had happened in that courtroom. Some speculated that the judge had ruled against her without considering all the facts, while others insisted that Baldoni must have used his industry connections to influence the outcome. People online argued that no one reacts that strongly unless they were blindsided by a decision that made no sense. To them, Lively wasn't just upset, she was the victim of a broken system, but not everyone was convinced. Many saw Lively's reaction as pure Hollywood theatrics designed to win sympathy from the public after a crushing loss. They believed that she had played up her emotions to make it seem like she had been unfairly treated, even though the evidence hadn't been strong enough to support her claims. Some argued that if the allegations were really true, why did the case collapse so easily? If she had solid proof against Baldoni, shouldn't the ruling have gone in her favor? Instead, the judge sided with Baldoni, and to them, that spoke volumes. And then there was a whole other theory, one that suggested this case was never just about workplace misconduct. Some insiders whispered that there were powerful forces at play behind the scenes, forces that neither Blake Lively nor Justin Baldoni could control. There were rumors that hidden Hollywood deals, secret alliances, and financial interests had shaped the outcome of the case in ways no one expected. Some even speculated that Lively had learned something in the courtroom that completely shattered her confidence, something so damaging or unexpected that she couldn't hide her reaction.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do your successes. I love creating, and I think that as women, you're not often given authorship, yet women represent 85% of people making purchases in homes across all categories.
But here's the thing. The timing of Blake Lively's emotional reaction in the courtroom has raised a lot of questions. Some industry insiders believe this wasn't just a spontaneous outburst. It may have been a carefully planned move. Hollywood is all about image and reputation, and when a major celebrity faces a devastating loss, the way they handle it can completely change public perception. A public breakdown, whether real or strategic, has the power to shift the entire narrative. Instead of the focus being on the fact that Blake Lively's case fell apart, it suddenly becomes about her pain, her shock, and the idea that she might have been treated unfairly. In just a matter of minutes, she goes from an actress who failed to prove her accusations to a victim of a flawed system. And the most interesting part? Neither Blake Lively nor Justin Baldoni are saying a word. For two people who have been locked in a bitter legal battle for months, their complete silence after the ruling is extremely suspicious. No statements, no damage control, no interviews, just radio silence. Some believe Lively is stepping back to let public sympathy work in her favor. Others think Baldoni is avoiding making things worse, knowing that any comment could reignite controversy. So the big question remains, why is no one talking? What is being kept from the public? And most importantly, is this really the end of the story or just the beginning of something even bigger? Since the courtroom incident, neither Justin Baldoni nor Blake Lively has said a single word about what what happened. It's almost as if they're pretending it never happened. Baldoni is carrying on like usual, posting his regular positive and inspiring messages online. There's no mention of the lawsuit, no response to the rumors, and definitely no reaction to Lively's alleged breakdown. It's as if he wants the whole thing to fade away quietly. Lively, on the other hand, is still active on social media, but she isn't talking about the case either. Instead, she's posting lighthearted content, funny moments, fashion photos, and casual updates, as if nothing ever happened. If she was truly devastated in that courtroom, why is she acting like everything is fine? This raises some serious questions. If she really collapsed from shock, wouldn't she want to explain herself? Wouldn't she clear the air and tell people what happened? And if she believed the case was unfair, if she truly thought the ruling was wrong, wouldn't she be fighting back, speaking out, or at least hinting at some kind of injustice? But the fact that she isn't saying anything at all makes some people wonder if this was part of a bigger plan. Could her dramatic reaction have been a strategic move? Could her silence be a way to control the story and let speculation do the work for her? So, what really happened in that courtroom? That's the question everyone is asking. Did Blake Lively actually collapse from shock after hearing the verdict? Did she truly lose control, overwhelmed by the realization that she had just lost one of the biggest legal battles of her career? Or was it something else? A reaction carefully timed to shift public opinion?
So we were always like, are we too connected? Are we too vibing? What's happening?
Just keep restraint.
Yeah, just do a little bit of restraint.
You're a nice guy, you know? You're just such a nice guy. You're
so nice.
The nicest guy.
So funny. Like, he's funny from a deep, deep place of insecurity and like ego.
Are we getting a sequel to It Ends With Us?
I would love to do it.
I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Hollywood is built on stories, emotions, and image, and some people believe that this dramatic moment wasn't entirely spontaneous. A sudden public breakdown, captured by eyewitnesses and turned into viral headlines, can be just as powerful as winning the case itself. Instead of the focus being on why she lost, the conversation has now shifted to how devastated she was, turning her from an accuser with a weak case into a victim of a harsh system.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man.
And now, the biggest mystery of all. Why hasn't she said anything about it? Both Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have remained completely silent. No official statements, no press interviews, no social media responses. For a case that has dominated headlines for months, the sudden lack of communication is raising even more suspicion. Is Blake Lively waiting for the right moment to speak out? Or is there more to this story that no one is ready to reveal yet? Until then, the mystery remains. So, what do you think? Was this a real emotional reaction from someone who just had their world turned upside down? Or is this just Hollywood at its finest, turning a legal loss into a public sympathy win? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, because this is one story that's far from over.